To complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. Rappler News Site Chief Executive Officer Maria Ressa vows to continue the fight following her release from detention after posting bail for a cyber libel case. Ressa walked free from the NBI detention after paying the bail bond of 100,000 pesos at the Manila Regional Trial Court, Branch 46 earlier. Reza says her arrest is a clear violation of press freedom and appealed to her fellow journalists not to be silent despite threats. The veteran journalist also called on government officials to always do the right thing.
I always said that when I look back a decade from now, I want to make sure that I have done all I can. We will not duck. We will not hide. We will hold the line.
Reza's case stemmed from businessman Wilfredo Keng's complaint.
Men and women in the Philippine judiciary, at the police, at the NBI. You are men and women, individuals with your own values. If you are asked to do something wrong, don't do it. Secretary Guevara, who is, I thought, a professional, these are your actions. The ripple effects are what we feel in society, but you don't want to be known as the Secretary of Injustice.
Reza's case stemmed from businessman Wilfredo Keng's complaint over an article published by Rappler in 2012 stating the alleged use of his luxury vehicles by former Supreme Court Chief Justice Renato Corona and his alleged involvement in human trafficking and drug smuggling. But Reza's lawyers argued that the article was published long before the cybercrime law was enacted.
The crime was consummated in 2012. Now, unfortunately, this was in May 2012, before the Cybercrime Prevention Act was even signed by the President.
International journalists and personalities hit the Duterte administration for the recent arrest of online news website Rappler CEO Maria Ressa due to cyber libel. Several comments on social media slammed the administration for what they believe is suppression of Reza's freedom of expression. CNN's chief international anchor Cristiana Amampur called the arrest a desperate move by the government, while Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland, a former journalist, said she is deeply troubled by the report. Other press freedom advocates also expressed dismay over what they claim is unjust treatment to Reza of the Duterte government. For its part, Malacanang maintained that Reza's case should not be linked to press freedom. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the executive branch respects the decision of the judiciary and it has no reason to meddle with the court's ruling on Reza's case. Panelo stressed that no one is above the law and any citizen should abide by the Constitution, regardless of their status or position. The government of Sri Lanka is planning to hire executioners for its new policy against illegal drug trafficking, which is patterned from the Philippines' war on drugs. Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena says he wants to resume the use of capital punishment for drug traffickers in the next 2 months. Sirisena says he drew inspiration from his hardline policy from President Rodrigo Duterte's anti-drug campaign when he went to the Philippines for a state visit in January. Drug trafficking is a capital offense in Sri Lanka, but no one has been executed for any crime in the country since 1976, as all death penalties have been commuted to life in prison since then.
දැනට තිබෙන වාර්තා පදනම් කරගෙන බොහෝ වෙලාවට අපිට පුළුවන්කම ලැබෙයි මරණීය දණ්ඩනය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න ඉදිරි මාසයක් දෙකක් කාලය තුල එය ස්ථිර වශයෙන්ම කිරීමට මම තීරණයක් අරගෙන තිබෙනවා මොන විදිහේ විරෝධතා ආවත්.
The Manila Electric Company or Meralco is urging its customers who have not received a refund yet to inquire at their office. This is in connection with the 4.4 billion peso refund ordered by the Energy Regulatory Board to its customers. Meralco, however, clarified that not all 6 million of its customers are entitled to receive a refund in the form of reduction in electric charges. The company said they have already returned around 32 billion pesos to almost all of its clients through the Refund Management Task Force that was created in 2003 as ordered by the Supreme Court. After that, the refund for the remaining amount was given in staggered payments from 2002 to this year. The refund ordered by the ERC until June this year is actually from terminated accounts and inactive customers, which are now difficult to track.
Pag sinabing terminated, at some point in time, customer ka namin. Pero, dumating yung punto na hindi ka na customer na Meralco dahil yung account mo ay naputol na, na-terminate na. Kaya lang, batay dun sa timeline, mayroon pa rin itong mga terminated accounts na ito, they are entitled to the refund. Kaya yan yung hinahanap natin ngayon.
Policemen illegally escorting politicians will face charges from the Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service. The PNP issued this warning following the relief of 16 cops in Zamboanga Peninsula who were found escorting a mayoral bet in Sindangan town without permission from the Commission on Elections. During the start of the election period for the 2019 midterm polls, police escorts of both civilians and local officials nationwide have been recalled, except for those assigned to 10 very important personalities. The recall is part of the routine election ban prescribed by the COMELEC Resolution number 10466 to limit election violence and the illegal use of the police force. Politicians and local officials facing serious threats on their lives may only employ 2 police escorts despite the ban after they have applied and obtained a permission from the poll body. The PNP says policemen who will be caught moonlighting and practicing partisan politics may be dismissed from service.
Pag ikaw ay naging bodyguard ng isang politiko na hindi otorisado, ito po ay grave misconduct, no? At ang kaparusahan niyan ay dismissal from the service. Kaya minomonitor ngayon natin itong mga politiko na to, especially doon sa vote buying area, nung mga pulis kung sumubra o hindi.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines is still conducting clearing operations in Barangay Igasan, Patikul, Sulu, where a clash erupted between government forces and the terrorist group Abu Sayyaf this morning. According to AFP Western Mindanao Command, this is to determine the number of casualties on the enemy's side and to pick clues on the possible direction that the group took when they retreated from gunfire. The encounter between the AFP and 6th Special Forces Battalion and ASG occurred at past 11 in the morning. The clash that lasted for 20 minutes left 1 soldier dead and 3 others injured. This is the 4th encounter to happen between government troops and ASG since President Rodrigo Duterte ordered to destroy the group and other enemies of the state last month.
Ganun talaga, no? Pagka na-enkwentro ang tropa, alam naman natin yung hirap ng dinadanas ng ating mga sundalo doon, but still yung motivation and talagang commitment natin to really run after them.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumraos live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, Diego. A U.S. judge says that U.S. President Donald Trump's former election campaign chief Paul Manafort breached his plea deal with special counsel Robert Mueller by lying to prosecutors. U.S. District Court Judge Amy Berman Jackson ruled that Manafort made multiple false statements to the FBI, Mueller's office, and a grand jury. Mueller leads a probe into Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. elections. The European Commission added Saudi Arabia, Panama, Nigeria, and other jurisdictions to a blacklist of nations that pose a threat because of lax controls on terrorism financing and money laundering. The move has triggered criticism from several EU states worried about their economic relations with the listed states, notably Saudi Arabia. Apart from reputational damage, inclusion on the list complicates financial relations with the EU, with the bloc's banks having to carry out additional checks on payments involving entities from listed jurisdictions. The 28 EU states now have 1 month, which can be extended to 2, to endorse the list. They could reject it by qualified majority. Australia is set to reopen a detention center in the Christmas Island, which will allow migrants in offshore camps to receive medical care. Meanwhile, Kenyan researchers are delighted over a remote camera footage showing a pair of black leopards. Nina Bascon tells us why.
In Australia, detention centers for asylum seekers will be reopened after historic defeat in Parliament allowed migrants in offshore camps to receive medical care in the country. The opposition Labour Party and independents voted to amend hardline immigration laws to allow doctors the right to transfer some 1,000 men and women from 2 Pacific detention centers if they need medical treatment. Meanwhile, an out-of-control bushfire which swept across northern New South Wales in Australia has destroyed 6 homes and damaged 5 more. The fire charred more than 17,000 hectares of bush surrounding the small town of Tingha, where multiple properties were damaged. NSW fire personnel faced unfavorable weather conditions, which contributed to the fire becoming out of control, although the initial cause of the blaze was uncertain. In Chile, authorities arrested a wildlife smuggler in Buin on the outskirts of Santiago, trying to smuggle 59 endangered macaws in boxes. At first, customs agent found 29 macaws in the boot of a taxi, and upon further inspection, another 30 were found. The animal trafficker had stolen the baby birds from their nests in the city of Osorno. The rare birds looked barely alive. They had been drugged and were on their way to the middle of the country to be sold as pets. Chile's National Zoo are taking care of the rescued macaws in order to return them to the wild. And in Kenya, rare black leopards were seen in Laikipia County, Kenya on remote camera footage belonging to San Diego Zoo Global over the past year. Video shared by the organization shows a male and a female specimen of the melanistic leopard. The finding delight researchers and enthusiasts. The zoo also said that most observations of the animal had been in Southeast Asia up until this point. Nina Bascon, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. The Mars Opportunity Rover ends its 15-year mission. Robbie de Guzman will tell us why.
I'm standing here with a sense of deep appreciation and gratitude that I declare the Opportunity mission as complete, and with it, the Mars Exploration Rover mission as complete. I stand here surrounded by the team, and I have to tell you, this is an emotional time.
Scientists announced Wednesday that the Mars Opportunity Rover has officially ended its illustrious 15-year career of scientific exploration. NASA lost touch with OPI on June 10, 2018, following a global dust storm. There has been no communication since. Scientists had expressed optimism that Opportunity would survive, but the sustained duration of inactivity led the scientific team to end the rover's historic mission.
We've listened every single day with the Deep Space Network with our sensitive receivers, and we sent over 1,000 recovery commands trying to exercise every possibility of getting a signal from the rover. But with time, the skies are darkening, it's getting colder on Mars.
The Opportunity Rover was built to operate for 3 months, but has thrived on Mars since January 2004, giving scientists volumes of data to study and learn more about Mars than anticipated. The massive dust storm last year coated solar panels that powered the rover, preventing the 6-wheeled robotic explorer from generating electricity to operate. Robbie de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue.
An Afghanistan combat veteran performs a series of daring stunts from different iconic locations in Scotland. Meanwhile, the Harlem Globetrotters continue to amaze their fans with their skills even after performing numerous world-famous trick shots on the basketball court. Asher Kadapat Jr. will tell us why.
Mountain athlete Team Howell completed a series of never jump based exits from a number of iconic Scottish mountain locations recently. Between January 27 and February 3, Howell, an Afghanistan combat veteran, jumped from the Store Cliffs on the Isle of Skye, the north face of Ben Nevis, and the Stillwater Fall in Glen Nevis. Howell's passion for base jumping has spanned over 6 years and taken in various famous landmarks around the world, including Tabletop Mountain in Cape Town, Trident du Tecuil on Mont Blanc, and the Grand Canyon in the United States. Fans might be more used to seeing the Harlem Globetrotters perform their world-famous trick shots and skills on the basketball court. But the players showed they can still amaze even on an unusual location like a ship. Globetrotters Zeus, Champ, and Too Tall performed a variety of tricks on the Queen Mary Floating Museum at Long Beach, California in the United States. The trio threw passes to each other before scoring hoops from vast heights, throwing the ball from the top deck of the ship right down to a ring set up many meters below on the ground. The Globetrotters, first founded in 1926, combine a series of trick shots with athleticism and comedy in their routines. The skillful group are due to perform on Long Beach State University on Friday and visit the Staples Center in Los Angeles on Sunday. Seattle Seahawks Shaquem Griffin, who plays in the NFL despite having one hand, came across a young fan with a similar disability at an event in Florida on Monday. The sweet encounter went viral on social media as the linebacker picked up 16-month-old Joseph Tidd in his arms for a special photo. Joseph was born without a left hand and forearm. Griffin had his left hand amputated when he was a child after being born with amniotic band syndrome, a rare condition which prevents proper growth of the hand and fingers. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news, February 14, 2019. On behalf of Rheena Villamor-Camara, I'm Angelo Castro III. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.